Oh hey, Professor Dave here. In this video, we're going to cover a question that came up on the Rhino Reddit forum. Let's take a look. Here is the sketch that was posted on Reddit, and so you can see it's very simple. It's basically two cylindrical pylons, but they're blended together at the top. So here's the side view. I'm jumping now to a solution proposed by one of the other posters who said, hey, we can do it like this, which is a series of trims and blends. Here is my proposed solution, and I'm going to build this from scratch right now, but I want to highlight what's going on here. This is super editable, and I can change this literally indefinitely. You may notice there is a difference in shading. All this means is we've got symmetry turned on, so you can just focus on the one side that's lighter color, and then any tweak or adjustment gets mirrored over to the other side. Okay, that's our goal. Let's jump in Rhino and build it from scratch. So in Rhino, we're going to open up the Sub-D Tools toolbar and automatically get this sidebar as well. We're going to start off with a very simple primitive shape. This is what's known as the Sub-D box. Now I've already changed this. Normally it's 2 by 2 by 2. I'm going to start off with something even simpler. That's a 1 by 1 by 1. I also want to make sure it's exactly square. So I start off with a nice clean form. So therefore I'm going to use the grid snap. So I can just count. Let's see, click there and go up 4 and over 4. There we go. I'm going to bring this guy up about half of a cube height. Okay, we can turn the grid snap off. Now, let's take a look at what we just created. Sub-D has two modes. We're in box mode, which is probably the best way to do edits and add things on. But the underlying geometry is very smooth. So as soon as you hit the tab button, you see how clean and simple it is. All right, so we're going to ignore that, go back to the box mode, and just continue. So in Sub-D, we do edits with what's called sub-objects. So when I click on this object here, the whole thing lights up. But we can also pick on a vertex just by clicking on the corner. There's a small dot, or an edge, or the whole face. So in Sub-Ds, it's really standard that you just build something really quick and easy, and then it's mostly editing. Okay, so we're going to extrude that up a bit. And also at the same time, I'm going to use the scale, holding down Shift and one of the handles. I'm going to go in all directions. Okay. Let's do another, let's see, 2 of these guys. 1, 2. And then let's get it back to the taper where it flares back pretty much the same way. So we're going to extrude that guy there and scale it back out. And then do one more. Okay, let's see what this guy looks like. Hit the tab key. And again, it's completely smooth everywhere, even though we don't want it to be smooth on the top and bottom, which is easy to fix in just a minute. I think first, though, I'm going to do the symmetry operation so we can get the other side and then connect them. So we're first going to go to the Sub-D reflect command to get the other side. We're going to pick the whole object. And I'm just going to use the y-axis. So this is why I kept it symmetrically located on the x-axis. So now we can use the y-axis. And the direction of arrows is the direction you want to keep. So that's obvious since we have nothing on the other side. And now we have this, basically it's a mirror, but anything we do to one side will happen to the other. So for example, if I pick this face and just moved it, it goes on the other side too. Control Z to undo. Really interested in now connecting these guys. This is going to be the big part of having this nice smooth blend at the top and bottom. So let's go to the bridge command. So we're going to pick this face here. Now that's the first set. You do have to say right click to let it know you're done. And then the opposite side, right click, left click first, right click to accept. And I usually have like 2 segments. That means we have 2 of these faces and we have a nice center line right on that axis. So let's hit OK. And let's do the same thing on the bottom. So right click to repeat, face, right click, opposite face, right click. And these are all the same numbers. So I'm going to move this part up. So notice I just pick an edge and that's up in the air. And we can also scale it in. So that works pretty good. Probably want to scale the top too. So I'm just picking that edge. You gotta be sure you don't get the other one still selected. So I'm gonna bring those guys in. And now maybe we'll check it for the smooth version. Okay, I'm gonna do a little more editing here. I'm gonna pick this, and so I'm gonna have this guy scale out, and then pick this edge and move it over. So just trying to really accentuate that flare on the top. We can also make this a little skinnier inside. So I'm going to Control-Shift and double-click, and that gives me a nice loop. You know, let's make that a little bit skinnier in the middle. Hold down Shift, so it goes in all directions. Let's do the same thing we did on the top over here. First, I scaled it out. Then I just selected that edge, pulled it. So I scaled one, pulled the other. I'm going to grab this edge here, scale that guy in, and move it down. Let's hit the tab. So this is looking pretty good. So we're definitely getting closer. However, it's a little bit confusing because the top is so continuously curved. And that's the basic nature of sub-Ds. So what I'd like to do, if you have an edge, doesn't matter how sharp, I still go ahead and crease it just so it's visually closer to the final. Let's do that right now. So I'm going to pick this edge, Control-Shift, double-click, goes all the way around. Get this guy here and that guy there. So this command is called the crease. So normally everything is perfectly smooth everywhere. So we'll just give this guy a nice little crease. So here's the crease command. I'm going to right-click for the sharp crease. So that is really sweet looking, and now we're getting really close. Let's do the same thing at the bottom. Again, it's going to be easier if I go to the box mode. So I'm just hitting Tab, Control-Shift, and double-click. There's the edge there, and this edge here. So we'll do the right-click, hard crease. And you can see it actually lights up a little bit thicker edge there than this edge there. So that top creased edge will be more noticeable. All right, hit Tab. And that's pretty close to the final. I'm thinking the inside's a little too skinny, so let's fix that. Double-click, hold down Shift, scale it out. So now you can really appreciate the beauty of these guys. You can even hit Control-Shift. I'm going to go on a crossing window, and we get that whole section. So we can make the whole thing a little bit wider. You can also, if you think the geometry is piling up, double-click this little edge ring here and just move that guy up so you can kind of force detail wherever you want to. Okay, I think we're about done. You get the idea. You can keep tweaking, keep pulling. But I want to do one cool bonus tip. So right now we've got this crease, which is razor sharp. You probably want to, at some point, fillet this if it's going to be printed. But I've got a better thing to do. Let's first select this edge, and it should be continuous now that it's all blended together. So I'm going to double click, and yep, it went all the way around. The command I'm talking about is called Bevel. And this actually works way better in the box mode. So I'm going to switch back over. And here is Bevel on the top horizontal sub-D menu. And we have a couple options here. So we can vary the number of segments to add more detail or control. I think I'm going to start off just by showing you a one segment bevel. And here's where we have to kind of get close to the corner. So all we're doing is adding one more face between that top flat surface and the sloping side. And it looks a little bit unimpressive right now, but when we hit the Tab key, we'll have a nice little fillet. Now, of course, the crease is still there. Let's fix that. Double-click, and we're going to go over to the uncrease. There we go. So now we can appreciate it. So this process of adding creases and removing creases and then putting bevels in, I think, is a great workflow to keep the edges sharp because they're easier to work with. Doing edits in box mode because it's faster to work with. And then at some point, when you're just about done, fake a fillet or introduce it, a sub-D fillet, which is called a bevel. So I'll do the last one with more segments just so you can see how it's a little bit sharper. So let's double click this one. Now last time we had a problem, so let's first turn off the crease. Here is the uncrease button. So now it's rounded over, hit the Tab, and then we'll do the bevel. Now we had one segment. Let's go up to 2 just so we can compare the difference. And you want to go to one of the corners, and that hopefully will make it easier to guide the dimension there. On the one up above, we just added one face in between the vertical and horizontal. Here we have 2 faces. So let's compare and contrast the differences. I'm going to hit the tab, and it's just a little bit crisper over there compared to the top one. So there you can see the difference. Anyway, that is making a double pylon in sub-Ds. So at any time, if you didn't want the symmetry, it's easy to turn on and off. So I'm just going to select this object, go over to the symmetry, and the right click is to remove. So anything I do to any point will not be reflected. But you can also turn it right back on at any time. So there you have it. We've built the double pylon thing completely in sub-Ds. Remember, just as a quick recap, we start off with a cube, 1 by 1 by 1, and then a series of extrudes just on a face to get it up into the correct height. We then did some editing along the top and bottom edges with the crease command. So that sometimes got erased, so you may want to save that till later. Then we also made some really nice terminations on the top and bottom with the bevel command. So that's just adding extra detail. So peace and 3D.